Well, good afternoon as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful afternoon of Tuesday, February 11th, year 2025, here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and, of course, the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis and of course, the likes of you out there, and make it your business to enhance and fortify this precious concept called public access that spells the individuality of that freedom that you can. I like hearing myself say freedom of expression rather than freedom of speech. Um, freedom of expressing, but also shying away from that which is cliche that usually serves as a slowing down factor, and then finding ourselves, of course, in the realm of the openness, the vastness of that, for so many, of uh, plentiful options for breakthroughs and for, of course, enjoying the process as it kind of offers itself to us. When I was growing up, I never thought that I would, maybe when I grow up, I would kind of feel a little trapped because I am interested in so many avenues, and maybe even finding out that I'm good at all of them, especially the creative process, the artistic process. I remember growing up, introducing myself to the life of percussion by being introduced to some genius, talented, out of this world individual that couldn't help myself but becoming everyone's mentor. It was just a natural process to feel that feeling next to him because he was so ahead of his time, ahead of us, ahead of the the obviousness of the pattern of education, especially musical education. It's just that he radiated individuality that was second to none and very unique. So by way of being introduced to this person, as I was actually in general being introduced to the world of music, I felt like, wait a second, this is from 0 to 97 in one afternoon after meeting that person. So in those early days where I grew up and I saw this angel playing the drums and many uh, outfits from America that toured the world and ended up wherever it is that you lived, and you had the chance to see like Return to Forever and Weather Report and Chick Corea and all these greats that invented jazz rock and gave a different taste to that, which is fusion by its nature. Almost like the abstract expressionists. And it's funny that in more ways than one, they're so set apart and yet they're so similar. The abstract expressionists were claiming the breakthrough and the advance and the progress that's been taking place uh, as a result of what they were discussing with each other, as a result of their own personal attempts in painting and pursuing their own venture in life, and on the basis of the fact that they're literally starting a trend that just by believing that it is a viable one, and that it makes sense and that it's worth it to put the time into it. And suddenly, before you know it, as people compared the paintings with the artists with their verbal expression, realize that it really all fits. And also finding out that you developed some kind of a very strange attachment, that down the road you realize that it's precious, so much so that you feel, you had to feel um, unique and fortunate to be a part of that. And in the same token, as we speak of abstract expressionism, we speak of the introduction of jazz rock, bringing jazz and rock and putting it together and letting fusion in that center of it guide and orchestrate and conduct. Uh, it's interesting that I was witnessing both. Really, one, I wasn't alive in the 40s or 50s, but still, nevertheless, I was able to relive what they were talking about, what they were trying to achieve, what where they're trying to put together that will last and then benefit people, because pretty much that was their goal. But lucky for them, they were the first generation, so they really enjoyed it more than anyone, because there was always enthusiasm. It doesn't matter what kind of work was under discussion. It doesn't, whether it was before, during, or after the criticism or the going through material and finding out where you stand and finding out if there's any need for change, and finding out that who's going to perform this change, who's going to um, initiate and pick it up and run with it. So, and then by obviously reading and becoming one and closer to the concept and the feel of the average painter that devoted his life or her life in the 50s, in the 40s and 50s, especially here in the east, the East Coast. Um, it was just can you imagine for a second how it was? 1930, 1940, 1950, 1960, 1970. I arrived here in early 80s, but it's just the power, um, the becoming of individuals that yet did not know that their actions are literally changing the world and will change the world on a regular basis for decades and decades, maybe centuries to come. They knew something about it. They knew, they had a feeling. That's why they were so devoted, even those who were up to no good and using drugs or whatever it is. But they had this work ethics, and they were like so committed, and it was so natural within them. And we're lucky, because now we can go through their material, we can sort through it, we can learn from it, we can listen to it, we can observe it, we can sense it and feel it and smell it. And what a wonderful feeling. I mean, when I saw a video of Motherwell, and again, I don't want to come across to you making you think that I have such a vast knowledge of arts education. Yeah, I mean, whatever education that I have, it doesn't matter what kind of education that I have, but the education that I have is enough for me to form the nature of the journey and to level of readiness and whatnot. But I don't want to come across as someone that I'm going to preach you now, because I have so much solid art, artistic education. But still, nevertheless, it was all about just living in the era that I lived, and I can press a button, then the computer can give me recordings and performances, whatever, all these goodies. I remember ending up watching some video footage from, I think it was the 50s in New York, with Motherwell in front of a canvas, and the canvas in front of a something like 12 by 30 canvas on the wall, and he's on a ladder, and he's going about his genius introducing black to the surface. And then when he was done introducing black, he just kept on introducing more black. And once he was done with introducing more black, he went on to continue to introduce even more black. And it was just going on and on and on. And as much as I was felt myself frustrated, I realized that I'm actually, let's see what's going on here, and that I was actually um, in the midst of that confusion. Like, what the hell is going on? I mean, he's just painting black and more black and more black and more black. And then learning about the resolve, learning about the magic, learning about noticing shades forming. Nobody bothered to form them, but somebody was bothered to apply to the surface, therefore allowed the surface to introduce its capabilities in absorbing the paint and absorbing and being able to live with the color, with the pigment, and therefore allowing the shades uh, to become in their versatility, just by the sheer fact of uh, whatever time it takes for it to dry, or how fast can it dry according to the time that it's taking place, the temperature, and then also the eagerness of the artist to inflict the meaning through the contact, and therefore making minute differences to become and to form themselves. but still, nevertheless, very significant and very meaningful. So I remember saying, okay, so Motherwell was for me, okay, like a shrine, like a place for worship, like a concept to indulge with, and because of, and thanks to, and and then I moved on and I introduced myself to all the greats in the way that suits me, in the way that helps me, in the way that makes me feel like this is the best way for me. So I remember when I arrived to the Kuning, into his material, I just poked it. I poked it as if the Kuning was sitting next to me, and I was to think to myself, if I'm going to poke him, he's definitely going to turn around or look for the source of that poking, or will think to himself, what the heck just happened? What's going on? And if he was to see me, so, and who is this person? What the hell is he doing here? But I was poking because I wanted to see the person I admired amongst quite a few that I admired, uh, and telling him, I'm going to be an observer. I am an observer. I am an observer. Therefore, I'm going to be an observer, and I'm going to be observing. And I will be observing. And as I observe myself, observing, thinking of that whole idea of going about that process of observing, that the nature of this genius walking on two is uh, how, only to describe it, how unready was I, how unready, unprepared that I was. It was unbelievable because you're dealing with such an entity, William de Kooning, and you say, wait a second, how reckless on my behalf not to be ready. Because of what? I couldn't figure it out because there was not one feeling that I said, well, I had some concerns and therefore now when I look back, I can understand what happened. No, I cannot understand what happened. And then I understood that the only thing for me to know about what just happened or what did happen was that this is the inevitability of the natural instinctive portrayal of a genius, regardless of the wishes of that genius, of that active, that talented, that spectacular, that fantastic artist. Regardless. And and then it's a chapeau, you wanna, and then you within, and then you know that your time is limited. Then you know that you need to come on, get with the program, which I did. And I took my notes in my own way that suited me, that was the best for me. And then I realized, well, this guy with his fantastic photographic memory. I mean, can you imagine a genius like de Kooning being able to operate and use and put and take advantage of his photographic memory, not before uh, uh, um, he manipulated reality and manipulated many other things in the journey of not finding himself using photographic memory for the sake of his creation, but also readying himself that indeed, if and when that usage will be on the basis of understanding that it is really it's time to kick in and show its face and help. And the uh, humility that he never took for granted that he's going to get to the other side, that he's going to complete that particular journey that he was finding himself engaged in. He never took it for granted, so much so that he say, well, I might, no, I cannot fail because, yeah, well, obviously, anything that de Kooning would have done or did, yeah, he couldn't fail. You can't bring a painting today, an original painting of any kind of de Kooning, and say, well, this one he really meant it, and another one he didn't mean it. You'll get your millions, no matter which one it is. People don't care. People maybe shouldn't care. People don't know that there's room to care. They just know that their admiration and respect is non-wavering and is one solid, uh, full force approach that deservedly so require that kind of attitude in order to thrive. And we want this feeling to stay and remain with us for the long run. We need it, even though we can do without it. Doesn't mean that we don't need it. I mean, we need it as a number one condition, but we can do without it because we know better than to miss the opportunity, and we know better than to think that we can save the world just because we showed up to work, or just because we indeed came and opened the lock and went in and turned off the alarm and introduced yourself to this wonderful day, and then you do what you need to do, whatever for whatever reason you came there to do. That level of readiness is on the account of the fact that when the moment comes and then you're facing, as I did Motherwell, I went to the Kuning, and this is the order really, and then I went to the Kuning, and then within him I saw like, wait a second, he's has a good sense of responsibility and loyalty to his decision making process, and to the consideration of the potential reader, viewer, admirer, artist of his work. And he wanted to tell us that he's never failed us by misinterpreting or by failing in implementing the logic of this composition, beginning, middle, and end, conclusion, summary, and then whatever kind of background deception that you will put in place, because you would need to do that. You will wake up out of it to remain within it, to recollect and to realize, wow, we've been through that. And as observers, is a big deal to be able to be there when that's taking place. The Kuning is observing you. The Kuning continue to observe you. The Kuning observes you. That's, I mean, I, I felt like that. I felt like, due to my understanding, due to the moment or moments that were precious when I was there, sorting through his art, sorting through his the becoming aspect of his reality, his life, his shortcomings, his addictions, his handling of himself, tolerating the moment, tolerating the changes, and maintaining a straight face through the process. And we cannot help ourselves but being impressed and amazed. So I felt that my understanding of who and what he was all about was so deep that he granted me from heaven to come and knock on my door and said, I'm observing you. And then maybe, I'm sure that I'm not, I don't think that happened, but I'm just kind of the world of fantasy now and imagination. That if indeed he came, and if indeed he made his voice heard to tell me that he's observing me, and suddenly he might just find himself uh, unexpectedly and surprisingly saying, wait a second, but wait a second, and who is this guy? And who is this artist? Hold on, hold on. Let me take a deep breath in. And then we'll take that big breath in while doing it, and in the midst of doing it, he will also just consume you completely. So, so for the sake of a later point to decipher and to enjoy and to sort through and to realize, and maybe he will hold his head and pull his hair and say, "What the heck is that? This is wow, wonderful." And that can be about you just as much as about me. And but we want to be we want to be visible and evident and present uh, in that vicinity of searching for the truth, searching for the decency and the um, uh, the refrain from accidentally compromising the composition that you worked so hard to put together all your life, and it's so easy to lose it. I mean, I know that much, and I know enough to be very weary on what it is that I stand to lose if I was just not to do things according to a plan or according to uh, a chain of events and understanding on the surface of what's happening, and maybe reducing the probabilities of any kinds of any kind of a calamity. That any calamity is pretty much like we can do without, uh, just in case it happens. So to be ready and to maybe ahead of the game and ahead of time eliminate much of its potency. So and then when it hits reality, you will know at least you can survive it, even if you get caught unready. But between the abstract expressionism, there was in itself a very funny way of going about declaring that you're going to put together an introduction, and that introduction will speak to two uh, entities joining together. One is a world and one is a concept. Expressionism world, the abstractive side of it is a, a concept, and vice versa. And abstract can be the world, and expressionism the concept. And and it all depends on your ability to play, especially in mailing on the basis of your ability to initiate a placement, an initial placement, an initial location. That your capability is to say, here it is, and here I put it to rest. Um, um, like an the, an, an engraving, like a stamp, like an eternal companion, and like a crazy glue, like a dangerous game that keeps unity and uh, the union sacred and pretty much for life. And to find ourselves traveling, um, maybe 30 years um, forward and into the 70s, uh, and there you find you find the golden era of a traditional conservative jazz that had a lot of um, alternative modernistic aspect to it, just by the fact of its um, meticulous um, compositions that were very radical, very new, therefore that made it sound modern and you know hard edge, sharp edge, and keeps you on the edge also. So bringing that concept together, just like they were with the abstract expressionism in the 30s earlier, and then you realize that you have to get reacquainted more often than you ever thought you would have to in the actual uh, taking a step of you know uh, dedication of volunteering yourself in a meaningful fashion. And and when I say volunteering yourself, that means making yourself available, maybe unconditionally, fully holy. Um, but um, but then again, the beauty of it all, in addition and on top of the incredible beauty that you already know about, is the fact that it's just like every little tiny thing of it is a concept in itself. Every ingredient should be treated with respect and with as if everything relies and depends on it, and most probably it does. And then not finding your own voice in the process of acknowledging others, but rather implementing hands-on on the surface. So I remember, for example, when I um, when I was in the era of my poetry, which is I mean my life is soaked with it now. Gertrude Gertrude Stein, yeah, Gertrude Stein. When I was first introduced to her poetry, it was like, wait a second, wait, this woman really introduces her talent through her non-wavering, not giving a flying f about anything, but being very serious on how she conducts herself and how she carries her emotional and spiritual weight as she's a part of society and a part of the wonderful, unique, prestigious, poetic society that she's a part of, and in more ways than one, a leader. So, what did you say? Did you talk about that cementish corner that was just evolving into the melting pot of disappearance, and you were just about to brush against it, and you met the void, and your shoulder swirled and found itself uh, maybe ages away from the moment of initiation, but in a very funny way, we found ourselves in the thick of, but of course, the forest. People love the forest. To use it as a point of reference and to stroll into the danger that is being evacuated and transported into wherever that we don't even care to know, but made sure that the path is clear, and and the walking and the stepping uh, turns out to be benefiting from the values of stumping into and through and on top of the potentially thorny slowing down factors, and within the utmost proximity to your face, that dagger comes to a dead halt, a dead stop, a fantastic declaration of love yet reluctance from seeking your presence. And then he says, but the poetry, but the poetry, but the poem. And then he kept on saying it. Now, if you want to know who I'm talking about, what I'm talking about, you would have to find it within the rhythm of just approaching destination. But of course, everything is um, uh, deceiving and as it should be, and then tricking you into having to uh, make a decision to choose. And this is the first time you're finding yourself like you really need to make a decision. You really, really need to choose, and but you know better because you carry the weight of that which usually freak you out because we keep you awake at night, and you keep on asking yourself, but how come? It should take minutes. But you accept the burden of the long haul. And you were hoping that this means that in the depths of these tunnels, that for some reason, even though feels hellish, still nevertheless is doable in terms of calculating your chances of survival. So the curse that the potential curse, I should say, hovering over you in those critical moments of you thinking to yourself, I got it, I got it, I got it, I can handle it. And most probably you can, and most probably you will. But as closer as you get and move on, and you kind of and you would think actually that it will enhance the revelation and the realization. You realize it's actually doing exactly the opposite. It fades into whatever it is that you cannot name, and then you realize that your choices were right because you feel strong enough, and you know where this that strengths come from because you're the one who's responsible in having it there and behaving the way that it does because you anticipated that indeed you would need it, and you knew therefore what to do in order to be able to have it be ready, uh, um, reaction ready. So what can I say? in the face again, and I don't know, maybe I use a lot this kind of open air in the face of, but in the face of the acknowledgement that these are the feelings that identify the moments that are so precious and rare. And that may, and actually lucky for us that we acknowledged it and realized it. So we managed to make that difference, to put it in place, to seal the investment and to officialize the savings account. And your future looked somewhat safer than just an hour ago or something. There was some signs of uh, pleasant odds of the ability to survive. Your chances looked good in the background of survival. So you come and you introduce yourself immediately and in whatever language you want, you know? Hey, Kak Jula, Maslomcha, how you doing? Como va tu? And and on and on. Okay? And you uh, want to lift it from its from that which made it or makes it all the time feel like it's useless, that the concept of itself that you feed on is while you're feeding and probably the rest of the world also, it's got to kind of remain steady anchored somewhere within reach for us all. What a job. What an incredible, demanding job. What a task. What a task. That video by Motherwell, I watched a couple of dozen of times, and then I don't think so. All right. So that the video that I watched of Motherwell from the late 40s, I think, or maybe very early 50s, was the bedrock of, with the knowledge that we have now in like 2025, that's insane. That's deep into the future. We're already living the future that we anticipated and envisioned and we're wondering of and about, that we're actually living in the thick of it now. It's unbelievable. So now with these tools, you think about this resolve of Motherwell or de Kooning, and for that sake, Jackson Pollock, and all of them they wonder, and they know that even though they catch themselves wondering and they're absolutely convinced they should be wondering about anything, things are just too clear to catch yourself wondering, but still they let it take place because they know that no matter what, it's still going to reveal another new layer, and those layers, wherever you can get them from, are very rare to get and very difficult to achieve, and very unlikely to be introduced or to be recognized or pinpointed. They're just not available. So you draw from it a relevance that's so easy to get, and you know about that. Even if you don't practice, you still deep within you, deep inside you, you know what the truth is. You know the nature of the truth, the way it feels and it smells, the way it looks. You know about it. You know a lot about it. And that can be helped by introducing those greats into our lives, inviting these greats into our lives to be a part of our attempt to become better and better in putting that thought patterns together and channeling everything into a level where you can find yourself. Wait a second, what I'm witnessing now that I like very much and admire and respect so much is actually something I just put together a little while ago. And then, but you know how we are. We can't really convincingly give credit to ourselves, like saying, like Haim, like, listen, you did actually very well. And for the most part, with me, if I need to rave about myself, feel good about myself, I don't have to go far. It, whatever it is that I will contemplate whether I should give myself a credit for or about or not would be literally staring at me right next to me. I did a painting once that was so disturbingly complex. And probably you will never gather that anything that I'll be telling you about this painting, if you will get to see it at some point, you will never think that we're talking here about the same painting. You will envision something, always something completely um, very, very odd, in almost as if it doesn't belong somewhere, that is just there and you can't understand how it got there. And if it got there in whichever way, what made it stay there? It's just so uncharacteristic. Um, but so they were contemplating and dwelling and looking into and figuring out and deciphering and turning over and over and shedding light and gathering thoughts and offering solutions, volunteering scenarios and interpretations, and offering realizations. Also, you out there in the world will have a huge deposit of items to be considered and chosen to serve you and to be in use for you for whatever it is that you decide to. Uh, Pick up a tool and direct it and redirect it into the source that you want it to be channeled through or by or because of, and and the rest will be history. Almost the highest degree of probability that one can fathom will take place there, and uh, yet to be involved in a situation where you encounter failure. I can't even say that I know what the flavor of failure is. I didn't get to that point yet, which I know it's coming. At some point, I'm going to have to fail, or at least feel that I failed, even though I can be at the height of my career for whatever I choose to call my career. Into that um, uh, understanding of the existence of reachability and the availability of reachability. So you find out that you can be a part of anything you want instantly, whatever it is that you choose, um, whatever it is that you choose, you will probably it will work for you, and probably you'll only to find out that you actually chose the right thing. And that's uh, that's one for the books. But anyways, so I did later on, years after I experienced all these sensations when I was introducing myself into the world of artists that I admired and I took notice of and respected and all this. And one of them was Motherwell. So with Motherwell, years later, 25 years later, when I actually literally decided to be a painter myself, okay? Well, I would say probably 15 years later, uh, in 1992. 93, 94, and then really 97, I really started. I remember deciding, and with the encouragement of people that are very close to me, strong suggestion and encouragement of people that literally came to my ear and did not whisper. They firmly stated, "You got what it takes. You have to pursue. You must do something about it." And then looking at the people that opened their mouths only to, to offer me and to try and help in all this, and I said, "But of course, yes. Look at who's telling me that. My favorite person in the world, my best friend in the world, and the other person, my best friend also in the world. Of course, look, all successful, all balanced, all willing, all flexible, all giving, and they're telling me from the bottom of their hearts that they're and let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. Do this. Okay. And so early on in my process, I realized, you know what, I'm going to create. I went to visit friends that were artists for years and years, and I learned about how they work, and I realized a pattern throughout the entire visits and all throughout all my friends, and is that they're taking the moment very seriously, maybe even too seriously. I couldn't see myself doing that. I couldn't see myself doing that. I couldn't find myself doing that, like saying, okay, uh, okay, I'm going to examine it, and then when I'm done, I'll start all over again, and when I'm done again, all over again, and start going deeper and deeper in all this, and on and on and on. And with me, it was once I started painting, I kept this memory alive on how much I don't want to be a part of this kind of wheeling and dealing in reality and dwelling in and just digging deep for no reason, for no justification. So I've always found a way to bypass and to avoid and to eliminate potential obstacles long before they show their faces. Um, so for whatever it is that they did, and I'm not talking quality, I'm talking quantity, I felt like I need to do half a dozen for everyone that anybody that I know does. So if they paint one painting in a week or in a month or whatever, I would pay six. But since I will practice more than one style and more than one approach, so each style will be six. So in my case, it will be like 3 to 4 styles. Talking about 18 to 24 paintings a week, a day, a month, whatever that it was. 24 to 1. So now I found myself actually, my style of operation became my trademark. So now people will be busy. Oh, I wonder what's this artist's next solo exhibition slash 60 paintings slash new paintings are going to be introduced, exhibited. It was always that. There was always like, okay, we're going to see this artist's work or opening, and we have a pretty good idea what it is that we should be expecting. An atmosphere, a mood, a fulfillment of mission, of challenge, of being tested. and you allow it to come as close as possible to you. And if it wishes to come and penetrate through you, make it feel as if it has a safe home within you. That feeling, I mean, because I do that all the time. I I I want to tell the world that I have a voice that has a verbal aspect to it, and that voice is intelligent one, and that no matter what kind of choices we're going to make, if the interaction between us is going to take place, and it will have that availability of three dimensions, present, I mean, past, present, and future. Then now we're talking. We're talking about capabilities. We're talking about options. We're talking about availabilities. We're talking about uh, the idea of to have something at our disposal. I love this sentence. At my disposal. Just stretch your arm, your hand, and grab and reach and grab. You know, just there. So you're surrounded with all this goodness, all this meaningfulness. So whatever it is that you send your hand to grab and to reach, it will reach something significant, something meaningful. And forget about it. Sometimes reality is much more pleasing and rewarding than one would ever think to for it to be, and then also and then to anticipate that indeed this exists from before, and to find it within a story that's taking place, that actually in the process of trying to resolve a certain type of reality, you actually realizing that you're getting to like the things that you want to eliminate, getting to like the things that you want to do away with, and you're discovering all this, and then you start wondering, why am I catching myself trying to take away something for myself from myself that is meaningful and influential and good for me? Mysteries. But you know what? So you're gonna be your best guard, your best own guard, and to look over that potential that can erupt and take you and everyone that surrounds you down with you, and turn it into something that you never have to bother about that. Knowledge is the cure, as knowledge is the subject matter that we always look for, that can survive all the moods and all the feelings and all the scenarios that were ever exhibited and introduced anywhere in the world in any capacity. How about that? Okay? Because here it is. Check this out. You see this wall? This is my art. See this work here? I created it in the last couple of months. You see this style here? This style here just came to me out of nowhere in the shape of this and that and that and this. I accepted it, I adapted it, and a week, 2 weeks later, suddenly it started making sense. Why? Because it just spoke in the name of of describing that which I find myself busy with putting together. What an inspiration. And then you see this wall? It's my story, at least for now. And then you just go on and on and on. And any wondering that comes back to you from the crowd, from the world, from the reality that you're facing and encountering with, you will bend and kneel and support yourself and reach your hand and grab one ingredient that you can go through, and you can make yourself an expert, a professionally trained individual as far as this concept is concerned. And you buy your world. You buy a world. You are a master of a moment that represents a place. A master of a moment that represents a place. The moment becomes your place becomes the moment, and you are just everything at the same time, just because you take part in anything and everything. Because you own it, you know. You can't just argue with reality. If you own this property, and let's say you're a landlord, and 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 you come to pick up the rent, and people pay you the rent, and you turn around and you say, "I'm sorry that I have to do it, but I'm the owner," and and that's what we do. We rent properties that we have, and then we come and collect the rent, and that's what I'm doing now. I really apologize if you're ever thinking about things that maybe would be influenced by your lack of knowledge of what's really taking place here in the world, in the neighborhood, in our house, inside each one of us, And then, the realizations become greater and greater and more meaningful and so much more in that sense. So, what is it that you need to learn, that you can learn, that you should learn, that you have learned, that you will continue to learn? When you feel the connection and you know exactly what makes it and what holds it together to the extent that it does, when you see what you see, it seems and feels so seamless and so nonchalantly put together and holding together. So the integrity of that structure, of that composition, speaks volume for itself, and also making you feel like you did something good because it's still holding, and you give the indication it's going to be there for a long time to come. And whatever revelations that you're going to find out or reveal in the process of living, you will always remember that you're talking about things that you have created yourself, that you have personal, intimate knowledge that you indeed created it because you were there with yourself, and yourself was there with you when that was taking place. So in the studio, every day that I go in, with a prayer, without a prayer, with an intention, without an intention, with a great intention or very shallow intention, with a resolved attention and a very disheveled in attention and intention. Still, nevertheless, you know that it's super crucial for you to be conditioned in the the scarce day of harvesting. You know that all too well. And history, your own history is telling you that you're actually sorry about that, that you're actually good at it. You're actually good at it. You a good harvester, a good harvest person, a good person that knows how to harvest well and identify and welcome and initiate and ignite so much, everything that will come your way in the midst of trying to figure things out. You will be absolutely ready and welcoming the challenge and making it happen, because you know how to balance, how to control, how to put to use, how to put to work, and so much more. So you let's see what's going on here. So slowly but surely, you want to tell yourself, well, I have just formed a message, and this message is beyond uh, beyond the disability of the moment. And therefore, all you're finding yourself doing is greeting your strength, your power, and becomes more and more evident. And you're happy about that, and you leave it alone. You don't meddle with it too much. You just kind of inhale, feel, smell, whatever, and then you know that sooner or later you will have that available. You're aware of it, and you will put it to use, and maybe it will save your life. You never know. So here, there's a an example of, and then I will do. This is just we have 8 minutes to go, and then I want to just finish with the blast. Okay, okay, okay. That's good. Okay, that's good. I'm just gonna go exactly 42 um, out of 100. Okay, and this is called uh, impacts threefold. Okay. Uh, uh, impact threefold. Uh, okay. 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 I think this is good. Okay, so okay, here we go. So the impact threefold, and the okay. Let's see. So yeah, that's impact threefold, and and I need to think about it. Okay, let me just. Oh boy, we don't have time. Only 3 minutes. Um. So anyway, I wanted just to mention that we're sitting here on Tuesday afternoon, February 11th, year 2025, and my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on there since 1980. Please, this Saturday, no, I'm sorry, it's February, yes, February 11th today. February 15th on a Saturday, 47 here at LTV, we have an opening of a show titled My Life, Your Life. Don't miss it. So, what do we have? We have 2 minutes? Yeah, and I'll read for 1 minute. Beneath a sky as dark as memory's void, a lone traveler, Marro, stepped into the night, his heart a map of wounds and silent joys, led him on a quest of wisdom's gentle light. He wandered where the past's soft shadows trod, each step recalling a time of loss and grace, a slow parade of echoes, footsteps flawed, yet laced with hints of triumph's warm embrace. In a clearing where the winds whispered low, a spectral figure danced in trance and fire, bravery in disguise of fleeting glow, enticing Maro with a secret desire. Come, follow me, it argued in a rhythmic call, for in the paradox of sorrow and cheer lay paths that split like riddles on the wall. A maze of self, each door booth, each door booth far and near, deeper still among the ancient trees. How about we leave it at that? I'll continue next time. We love you. Hopefully, we can see you this Saturday at LTV Studios, February 15th, 47, with a solo exhibition titled My Life, Your Life.